Hi, Jeannine. Thank you so much for coming on our podcast. I really appreciate it. I know you're really busy, so I really appreciate you coming on here. Uh, can you maybe share with us and the audience about who you are and stuff, so we can have a little bit more context about our today's conversation?
Okay, sure. Hi, Daniel. It's nice to be here. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk. So, I'm Jeannine Martins, and I am a speech pathologist, and I have been for 29 years. And I also own my own practice, which is Resonate Within. And what it is it's just an approach, it's a heart centered approach to addressing emotional issues. So, mostly I do it with patients and clients, but it actually is just a lifestyle now at this point. I grew up in a tumultuous home. I had like a pretty rough upbringing, but many people have. And I just find like my give back is to let other people know that they're heard and seen in the world. And that's what I offer. Um, yeah, I mean, I went through the Lynn Andrews Shaman School of Training, which is a 4-year program, pretty intense, very intense, but it changed my entire life. And my giveaway or my give back to the world is just an open heart and vulnerability and being present for people when they need me.
When you say you joined the school and changed like your life, can you maybe speak a little bit more about that? How did it change your life?
Oh my gosh. It's first of all, it's a very intense program. And well, it's a long story about how I got there. I just happened upon the books at a friend's house and I read one of Lynn's books and I thought, oh my gosh, what the heck is this? And then I just had curiosity about her and just called and found out there was a school associated with her. And so the curriculum is intense. It's very intense. And what a lot of it is looking at yourself and trying to really like going within to heal yourself. You truly are not really able to help anybody else to heal on a very deep, profound level unless you've actually worked on some of those parameters for yourself. And so that's what I felt like the school did for me. It taught me so much about myself. And then it also taught me about other people as well. And it was so intense that, I often cry when I talk about it because it's so emotional to go through 4 years of this. And it's intensive, but it's life altering if you keep doing the practices and if you keep doing the work. The assignments and it's incredible. I mean, I can't even put words to it. It just was so life altering. And when I graduated, I thought, oh my gosh, like I finally really, I did something super significant. I felt like, wow, I feel fully empowered. I felt fully, for the first time ever, maybe I felt like I had self-esteem, maybe self-worth. I could see my self-worth. And ever since then, I've just been incorporating shamanism into my work as a speech pathologist. And I feel happy. I feel for the first time in my life, I feel content and happy and peaceful. I,
Wow, that's really amazing.
Huh?
That's really amazing that you had so much transformation. It's testament to like the teachings of Lynn Andrews really works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh.
So
What-
can you maybe, so you said like, you are a speech pathologist. Like, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, do you help people with their speech impediments, or like what type of context do you help people with? What type of therapy do you do
Oh,
now?
so throughout my career, I've always worked with children and adults at the same time. So you could I worked a full-time job and I always had like a side per diem. Work on articulation. We work on fluency. So stuttering and stammering, uh, inability to communicate in general, needing to use an assistive technology device, uh, individuals who are born that way, and then individuals that acquire it later in life, like neurological disabilities or a Parkinson's disease or ALS, a stroke. There's so many things that speech pathologists do. And I typically now at this point in my life, I've been mostly working with adults and it's mostly skilled nursing facilities and some long-term care, which is the individuals that can't go back home. There's no way. There's not enough support, they can't be maintained at home. So then they go to an assisted facility or a skilled nursing facility. And I might help them with swallowing as well. That is a primary thing in speech pathology as people get older.
So what are the things that you see in these skilled nursing facilities that like issues that people are dealing with?
Oh, well, so the biggest issue is dealing with life's trauma. They end up in these facilities because something traumatic has happened most of the time in their life. And if something hasn't, like medically, like I said, they could have a stroke or a heart attack, or they break a limb or leg, or they go in because their body, they have a severe infection. So they go to the hospital and they're there, and hospitals try to roll people out as quickly as possible. And then they might go to a skilled nursing facility to rehabilitate. And again, it's supposed to be a short-term fix or measure, but some people don't quite come back out of that. Or some people don't have the ability to recuperate fully to go back to their original living situation.
So what is like your role in the skilled nursing facilities? Like you said, like you're helping people with speech pathology. This, how do you like integrate your teachings from like Lynn Andrews and the secret arts into your work with helping these people?
Well, so typically, I can only work on people who are on my caseload unless it's off, obviously paid time. So people that come in, a lot of times I'll work on, a lot of times people have swallowing issues, meaning that food or liquid goes the wrong way and they can get pneumonia. And so that becomes a lot of, especially in long-term care, it becomes a lot of the caseload that I see. So it'll be people maybe with dementia, or people who've had a significant stroke. And, my belief or my way of looking at things is you have to treat the whole individual. So they're coming in with this sudden life change, and the sudden life change is creating stress in their life, right? Any one of us, like something like, listen, it's raining out today, and that sometimes feels like a stressful situation. It's not life altering, but think about the fact that somebody's going from a familiar environment, a home environment, and suddenly they're in a hospital, and then they're in this unknown skilled setting. So a lot of times I do a lot of emotional space holding with them. So I will, I carry what energy I have, what peace and whatever I have to offer. It could be like saying kind words. It could be going to get them something extra to drink or eat. It can be just holding space for them and telling them or acknowledging, like, yeah, this is a major change in your life. I might be the first person who has the conversation. This is where you're at. This is what you're going through right now, but it doesn't mean it has to stay this way. It doesn't have to stay this way. And I'll work with you to try to help you to find out what it can look like. Like, hold that space for hope and optimism, because it's very easy to get discouraged. You're like, uh-oh, like nobody wants to go to a skilled nursing facility. So primarily that's what I do. I'm holding space for them. I listen to them if they have things that they want to share. Sometimes if it's emotional, I can help release it with them if they're agreeable, if they even say yes to it. And most patients do, because they're at their lowest point and they just don't want to be suffering. I also offer similar stuff to the caregivers, to the loved ones that come in that are saying, I'm feeling really stressed out. They keep calling or they keep telling me they want me here, but I'm feeling super stressed. And so, yeah, I just feel like I try to assist in whatever way I can within the parameters of my job, but then adding this little extra onto it, which can really help somebody just to feel like they're not alone and that somebody is listening, somebody's hearing them. That's the best way I can describe it.
I mean, so do you ever like deal with the family members of the people that are going to these skilled nursing facilities? Like, how do they, and that can be like very stressful as well, right? If like the family, yeah.
Yeah, so the family, sometimes there's many layers to this. So we'll keep it like kind of simple. When family members are willing, usually I have the conversation. I usually tell them, I remind them, hey, listen, they're in like this is a really rough time for them. They're going to be going through challenges, but know that we're here. We're here to assist them in the facility. But you need to take care of yourself as well. Like, you need to, like, if a family member is coming in and very upset and agitated and feeling like they're not meeting the needs of the patient and they have to meet the patient's needs, sometimes they just need a reminder, or they just need to know it's okay. Like, we can't, people as a caregiver, you can't keep emptying your own cup and then expect yourself to be content, happy, and healthy. Because a lot of times what happens is family members will give so much that they become sick. or they become like the next one that goes in the hospital. This for especially for older people. They just wear themselves out trying to attend to the patient. And then next thing you know, they're the sick ones. So I feel like there's a lot of conversations that have to go on. And a lot of them I do have with people about knowing their own limits, like know your limits. You're not helping anybody by coming in and doing this. It's really actually depleting your sources. So you need to listen to your own body. You need to pay attention to yourself and what your needs are. And then you could come in healthy and strong for your person who's in a skilled nursing facility.
I mean, what if like, do you have any takeaways of all the things that like, that you've seen that have like helped people deal with like this whole like situation of
I mean, that's varied. So all right. So every person is individual and what everybody needs is different. So I'll give you an example of one, and I'm not sure if this is exactly what you're asking for, but I have a patient who's on caseload and I'm working with her on swallowing, and she has early stage dementia, and she's having trouble with her children, adult children. And she was sharing something with me and I said, oh, and I just had an impulse. I had an awareness for like what was happening. And then I suggested to her, how you try Ho'oponopono. It's a simple prayer of forgiveness. And we walked through it and I guided her through it. And she said she was very interested in it. So you just have to imagine the person in your mind's eye and you say these things. So about 2 days later, I had her on my caseload again. And she said, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this. And it had to do with her daughter. You're not going to believe this. But she called me and she took me out of the facility, got my nails done. She said she was so nice. And she said that I was able to say this to her, but then I didn't say anything else. And she was so excited. And I thought, that's one example. That's one tiny fraction of what I had to offer. Whether it worked or not, like I told the patient, no expectation, just put it out there and see what happens. And she was so excited of this potential with her daughter that she didn't have before. And I'm like, those are the things that are possible. Did it have to do with her health? Well, it had to do with her emotional health because she kept ruminating and talking. She kept going back to reliving the same scenarios, and it just helped. And that was one example, and that's not for everyone, but that's like a pretty clear example that just happened. And I thought, wow, I can't make this up. Like this stuff, it's real, what can be done.
it's really interesting. And so you kind of like live in two worlds in a way.
Yeah, it feels like it. And I just have to follow my impulses. I get messages and if I just don't let my ego take over and I just follow the message, like in the past, I would have said to myself, oh geez, I don't know. Should I even say this? This is kind of like not my place. And I just find now if I just follow the guidance that I get from source and spirit, if I follow the guidance I get, I can usually help somebody, whatever it is that needs to be maybe like balanced, or I can give them information. Sometimes people choose to do nothing with it, and that's okay too. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, the information's there, the support is there. I hold the space with them, and this all while I'm doing my primary service of speech pathology. So it's kind of a little bit, it does feel like two worlds a lot of times. I'm trying to like incorporate or be authentic and be a speech pathologist. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure like for families that they have a loved one that's going to a skilled nursing facility, it can, that itself could be almost like traumatic because it's like, you don't know what's going to happen. As you said, you don't know if the person's going to come out of there or if they're dealing with like a very serious like issue such as cancer or Alzheimer's and stuff like that. I mean, do you have any advice to to the family members of how to deal with you know, having a family member go to skilled nursing facilities?
Well, it's so hard. I mean, I've been doing it for a long time. It's even hard to be there. It's hard sometimes for me to be there because it isn't home. It isn't home. It doesn't have the same food. It doesn't have the same vibe. It doesn't have the same energy. There's like a lot of chaos. There's people that come in that you might not know or you don't understand them because, you don't have your hearing aids, and it's such a very chaotic kind of feeling for people. But I would say the best thing if we're talking to caregivers, I'd say the best thing is to be present for your person fully when you're there. That means listening, holding space for them, holding their hand, comforting them, reassuring them as far as you know. No promises that are empty promises. Like don't say, hey, yeah, you're going to be coming home when you kind of know they're not going to be coming home. Like if you're like already making plans for them to be long term. But I think what people mostly want when they've been through trauma is just to know that somebody loves them, somebody cares, somebody's listening to them, and that they're not alone. And I think it's really hard. I wish I had better advice for caregivers because I said about them not emptying their own cup in order to care for the patient. But I think the best advice would be imagine if that were you. And this is what I tell to CNAs, this is what I tell to nurses. Imagine if you were this patient and this was you. What would you want? Well, how would you want people to treat you? How would you want them to talk to you? What would make you feel like safe and supported? And then when you have that conversation, I think that's when you can bridge the gap because everyone's different. What I might want when I'm sick might be totally different than what somebody else wants. But the biggest thing is people want to be heard and know they're safe and know that they're loved and they're not abandoned.
Now, do you only, like you said, like you do a lot of work at the skilled nursing facilities, but do you also offer like coaching work to like the general public or?
Oh yeah, my Resonate Within is really my private, like that's my separate business. And that's I've worked with many people I work on a lot of emotional healing and that I do I do it also through the ways that I'm talking about it right now, but I also do more like sacred art creation. So more like acknowledging emotions that are, maybe deeply within you that you either think are like a bad thing to have or you want to get rid of them. And it's more about seeing them and witnessing them, creating something to represent them, and then accepting them because they've helped you. I mean, fear can be good and fear can be bad, right? Fear keeps us alive. Like a fear response that's unhealthy can also hold us back. So I do a lot of more coaching on that stuff and also dropping into the heart space. It's not easy. We all have like protective, areas around our heart because we don't want to be hurt. But sometimes some of that hurt is just old memories that can be released. If you can see them and release them, you let them go. You don't have to carry it anymore. It just doesn't have to be there.
So like with your coaching clients, like you mentioned, like how do you help them have more self-confidence and self-worth?
Well, I think first of all, so I do a lot of different modalities. But the first thing is, I think you have to build a relationship, first of all. I don't think it's a one and done, although I have had people who I've only seen one time to build the confidence. So, first of all, I already said before, I think that I never thought I would, or maybe I didn't say this, I never thought I would be happy or peaceful or content ever. It took a long time, but it doesn't have to take a long time for everyone. I just think it took a long time for me because I didn't have anybody to show me. I didn't have anyone who could guide me. And I would say that's probably more of what I do. Finding out some of the shamanism comes in with trying to figure out, okay, what's the biggest interfering factor? Let's get to that. Let's get that out of there. Let's cleanse and clear that. Then what else is there? And then other things show up. Okay, now let's do this. Then I can make recommendations, suggest things. And it's a process. And everybody's unique. So I guess you would just have to trust that we would have a relationship, whoever it is I'm working with, and that my heart is always pure and it's always just trying to assist. It's not trying to I don't know. It's not about building clientele for me. It's about if it's one and done, I'm happy with that too. Like if whatever makes you feel good and helps you to feel healthy, successful, and happy, I'm happy with. I'm totally happy with. But I think there's a lot of different ways to get there. Yeah.
So can you maybe like share some examples of how you did help some of your coaching clients?
Okay. Oh, sure. So I do family constellation work too, which is hard to explain here, but it works with the morphogenic field. So everything's there. So it's, I guess the best way to describe it would be like ancestral work. It's all your ancestors and what came before. And I help people, they're a very structured approach. I help them to reveal something about, say, an issue that they're holding. And then I guide them through it and I hold them through it. And I have key phrases and sentences that I've been trained to use that helps them to have resolution or comfort. So I did it for a friend recently, and she had some challenges with her mother. And then she went and recently visited her mom, and she said, I can't believe this, but I actually feel pretty good. I feel pretty strong. And that was a one and done. But I've had others where I've maybe done 3 sessions, and it wasn't always the same issue, but it was around parental issues. Um, I don't know. There's a lot of, honestly, there's a lot of good success stories. I've had some where one session might be meditating to release or pull something up out of the heart chakra. And then another session might be doing Ho'oponopono, or it might be doing, I do sound healing too. Sound vibrational healing. So I use all my modalities, but I connect to somebody else's spirit guides, and then they tell me kind of what to do. So I'm not like, I am arbitrarily sometimes deciding on my own, but most of the time it's guided through whatever's available.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of
Oh,
fascinating.
I mean, you have all these experiences and skills. Was there any particular like epiphany? Because you said you had to go on this journey to become happy and joyful and peace. Was there like a particular point, like you have this epiphany where it's like, okay, now I'm ready to be at peace and enjoy
Well,
in my life?
no, I think it was a natural evolution from, I feel like for me, was going through the mystery school, because it brought up so much of my unhealed past that I didn't even know I still had. I've been working on healing work for myself for a long time. So the mystery school was just another step, but the depth of it, I feel like I truthfully, when I graduated, I felt a sense of success, like, whoa, something's different. And maybe a year after, I just had the awareness, like, oh my gosh, I'm happy. Like I feel happy, and it's still here. It didn't go away. It didn't leave. I mean, it's kind of mind blowing when you actually feel happy and you never thought you would be happy ever. Um, so I can't say the particular moment, but it felt like after I graduated, I did all that hard work and I realized, oh my gosh, like that book, Happiness is a Choice. Somebody gave it to me years and years and years ago. And when they gave it to me, I was so mad. Oh my gosh, I was furious. Yeah, that. I
Maybe
was
that's got
so furious. It was, I don't know, it was over 15 years ago. And I remember they gave it to me and I was like, gosh, I was so mad. I was like, don't you know what I've been through? You have no idea. Anyways, I thought of it today because it was so funny, because I think some of it is a choice, but the choice being whether or not you want to actually heal yourself and work through any of the old trauma, the old stories that have been told to us about us, right? I was the crybaby in my family. Stories that we might have taken on to be us, but it wasn't us at all. Maybe they were talking to a sibling. Like there's a whole bunch of things that when you actually get to the heart of it and you discover who you really are, your essence, there's such a liberation and a freedom that that's happiness. Like I'm not the stories that have ever been told about me. I'm not even the person that I thought I was. I'm like those are all just a bunch of stories. I can't even put words to it, but it's a feeling, it's an energy, right? It's like this crazy, amazing, unknown. Yeah.
Is that part of like what the school taught you, is figure out who you really are?
Yeah. Well, all of the work is meant to help you to get your essence, to get to who you really are. Yeah. And so when you do the work and you're working through all of these dynamics and figuring out, some of the activities in the curriculum is geared towards diving deep into the old stories. Who are you as a person? Who were your parents? And sometimes I say I didn't really know my parents. I grew up with them, but I didn't really know them. I didn't know much about them. They were very quiet. They were very, I mean, for all intents and purposes, kind of secretive. So it was really fascinating to be able to look at it through a different lens and also look at, you know, what I thought about them through a child's lens, because that's how we discover our parents. And then there were so many other activities that are just discovering your inner power. And truthfully, that's what it's about, right? It's about my power, my voice, who I am in this world as a person of power. And we're all people of power. Power is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's like my ability to just be authentic and be comfortable being who I am without making excuses. And then that whole self-esteem and self-worth thing came up with it. I felt like, yeah, I personally thought the mystery school was amazing. I thought it was phenomenal. I continue to volunteer with it. I volunteer with the apprentices that are in there now. I'm one of the co-facilitators with one of the study halls. And I feel like the mystery school is about the oral tradition of the Sisterhood of the Shields. And it's about wisdom.
What is that? I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't think anybody in the audience knows what that is.
Oh, so in Lynn's books, Lynn Andrews' books, she speaks about the sisters, the Sisterhood of the Shields. And the Sisterhood of the Shields is this, I don't even know how to describe them. It would be like this entity, this group of wise women that have been through the ages, have shared wisdom. And it's an oral tradition. And so I don't know that it had any particular ethnicity attached to it. I just know they come from the stars, right? Maybe Pleiades. And so the wisdom is all about loving oneself, owning your power. It's all the things that I'm talking about right now. And it's an oral tradition. So it's about sharing the wisdom, which is what I do, and talking about it is sharing the wisdom about how to take back our power and how the divine feminine is really needed in the world. And that's not just women. We're all divine. We have a feminine and a masculine. It's the divine feminine really needs to step up into the world. So that it could be more imbalanced. And it's a very earth-centered approach. And it's very much, loving the land and honoring our ancestors, and that knowing that we're all just part of this larger beingness.
It's interesting. You're saying, like, I mean, how old are these teachings? I mean, like, because you said, like, it's not really like Lynn was just sharing this, like, she invented the teachings herself.
Right,
So it's not like
right.
the teachings are from like 50 years ago. They're probably hundreds, maybe even thousands of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And I don't even know. So there's a certain part of the work that becomes like the unknowable, I couldn't possibly know. I don't even know a time span on it. But I know when I hear the wisdom, it feels true to me. It feels authentic. And it feels powerful. It doesn't detract from anything. But I don't have a time span or anything like that. And as soon as I start to chase any of those thoughts, it's almost like it becomes more elusive. Like I start to name something and I'm thinking in my head, well, I know she spoke about this, and then it just goes, and I can't catch it. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what it feels like.
Yeah. And what's interesting to me is, like, I don't know, like, it seems like the self-development movement, it's only been around for like the last 50 years, maybe 100 years, where people like Napoleon Hill, that, wrote all these books about self-help, self-development, but yet some of these teachings have really been around for a very long time. But like, I was curious to know, like, why, like, it wasn't not, became mainstream. Like you said, it was only kept to like a relatively small group of people versus like a lot of people know about, these things that I think are very important, like, things like self-love and finding out who you really are. I wonder, do you have any idea why, like, these things never became like mainstream?
I mean, well, I have my own thoughts about why they didn't become mainstream. I feel like to me, it feels like it's a return to like many, 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 many years ago, an older way of thinking. And then when formalized religion, this is just my view, when formalized religion came in, I think there were a lot of things that were like kind of cast away, like people who worked with herbs were considered witches. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why the wisdom becomes hidden, because nobody wants to be hung or burned at the stake. I mean, that's just one aspect of what I'm talking about. I think also it's become, oh, I don't want to say anything controversial. Because when people put down my I feel like okay, so ultimately this is about power, right? And we're in the age of Aquarius now. So we're heading into a new age. And if you notice, there's a lot of things coming up in society that are being exposed as being not good, or look at, we've always been doing it this way. And it's like falling apart. And I think that those things are coming into our awareness because we are headed toward, we're ready. People are ready for the revelations that we're hearing. People are starting to become more aware. And the way to become strongest for those things is to become self-empowered, just to know exactly who you are. So you're not based in fear. You're just like strong in your center and you go, okay, the world is chaos around me, but I am not chaos in here. I am holding my center and I'm here and I'm grounded. And the world can look like, all kinds of stuff going on. It doesn't mean I'm not participating, but there's a strength in me being able to stay in my center and not get caught up in the fray, because it's really easy to kind of get caught up in the fray. And so I think that this, I wouldn't say movement, but I think that these teachings are really relevant because they really do teach you how to go to your center to be like, okay, I know what I need to know and I know what I need to do. And then how do I support the world from this space of real full groundedness? Not fake positivity, but like real, like, no, I know what I know and I'm very grounded and centered in myself. So the world is going on around me and I can hold a space for others to say, listen, if I can show you how to get to your center and how to like be fully empowered, you're going to be fine. Like we're all going to be fine. We just have to be strong within ourselves to find that, that, that middle point, that centering.
I think that's really important because you touched upon some really important things. Like, first of all, like you said, like I think we're all going through like this collectively going through like a big awakening where we're questioning our values, whether it's politics, religion, or the way we live our life or the way we think. Like and we're kind of going back to the roots. So it's almost like coming back like full circle in some ways. Like going back to these ancient traditions that have been around for thousands of years that we're kind of like relearning. Like we may have many of us knew about this thousands of years ago, but now we're relearning because some of these other systems that people put in place aren't working, or people coming into these roadblocks in life where it's like you feel stuck, like you can't feel happy. Okay, what do I do? I don't feel happy. How am I going to work this out? And also, like I think it's interesting that you talked about that, like feeling grounded and stuff, because I feel like now more than ever, I think people are more stressed out like the last 100 years or so with everything, like, between politics, the economy, inflation, the prices of everything keeps going up. There's so much instability in the world with like these wars, like in Ukraine and everything. And we need to be grounded and centered more than ever now
Oh, yeah.
because, and also, like you said, like with like social media, I think obviously there's a lot of value in social media. I'm on social media, but at the same time, it's also, it can like, detract from our being centered. Like it's so easy to be pulled in these different directions. So it's great to have like a way that we can like center ourselves and you said know who we really are, because especially like these advances in technology with AI, someone's questioning who we really are.
Right. And they could take your voice and they could do whatever. And it's, I recently did have that conversation with, I think it was with one of my daughters. And I was just saying, I don't like AI very much. And she said, well, Mom, that's the way it's going. And I said, oh, it's just so like suspect. I don't know what's real and what's not real. And then it kind of made me laugh a little bit because that's true. That's true. But even in the world, I don't know what's real and what's not real anymore. I can't tell, whether it's AI or something else, like we're only exposed to the information we're exposed to. Right. And you've heard, like, you can hear one side of it, you hear another side of it, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know who's telling the truth anymore. I don't know. But if I can go back to that point of groundedness and know exactly like, okay, all right, go back to my center and figure out like, okay, what reasonably sounds true to me and what feels authentic. And then I can work from that space, right? Because I can't solve the problems. I can't solve the problems of the world. I know that. That would be so, I mean, egoic of me to be like, I've got all the answers and I can do it all and I can figure it out. No, I don't think that's true. And that's not where I sit. But we can work on ourselves and we can heal ourselves and we can have our own sense of peace and happiness, joy. And then I feel like everybody that we touch when we come from that healed space, everybody gets touched by it, whether they want it or not. It doesn't matter because you're going to get touched by it because that's the vibration I'm carrying, right? And that's the vibration somebody else is carrying. And, think about it. If you walk into a room and there's a really angry person there and it's really hard to like not feel their energy. You're like, oh, I don't know what's happening. You might even like pull back like, oh, well, same thing happens when it's good and happy, joyous, whatever, centered. That same peacefulness is what you carry forward. So that was my big long explanation for the school.
I think as you said, it's so relevant. And the crazy thing is, it's been going on for like thousands of years. It's now it's been out there, but now like we're waking up to it. I think it's so important. So I'm so glad you mentioned it now because, people now more than ever, like, we're questioning identity in so many different ways, whether, especially like with the way politics is going now or, the way our society is happening, we're questioning a lot of things about our identities in so many different facets. It's extremely important skills to have, like life skills, like of how to deal with life. Because now, I mean, like I remember many years ago, people said that like the best way to be stable is to get a government job. But now if you see what's going on in the news is like, some government workers are being laid off. So that stability that people thought was there is no longer there. And it's like, it's rivaling our sense of our safety and stability. So what do you do? Like, when you're living in a world of instability, we need to have tools, in my opinion, that can ground yourselves and get answers from. And I love, like you said, like, you're able to tap into your intuition, your spirit guides to get some answers of like what to do or what to say in certain situations, whether it's work or personal or, your family life. These are extremely important things. I think like everybody in the world needs these things, like,
It would definitely benefit everybody and everybody has intuition. It's just how willing you are to allow it or recognize it. And yeah, I mean, everybody's got the skills. Everybody has skills in intuition, and it's whether or not you fine tune it, what you work on, but everybody can be grounded and centered. They just need to learn how to do. It's not super hard, but I got to tell you, with all the chaos going on, I could see why people would struggle. I catch myself sometimes. I'm in a chaotic situation and I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like, oh, well, you can go back to your center because you're good. But it takes a minute when you get into chaos, when there's this chaotic craziness going on around you and people are all, talking about different things that are like really inflammatory. And then you just have to go back to your center and you're like, listen, this is always going to be going on around me. It's what I choose to do with it. I'm not ignoring it, but I'm holding space for myself to be in that healthy space. So therefore everybody benefits from that healthy space. Everybody benefits, not just me. And then maybe it can diffuse some of that because sometimes it can get a little intense, a little bit too chaotic. And the fear factor is really big. I mean, fear is it can drive people into like some really crazy states of being. And I feel like that's the other part of it is I prefer not to be around that, but it's going to happen. So the only thing I could do for my own self is to figure out like how to be okay with just being present with myself and like to know that I'm safe and secure. I'm always going to be safe and secure because I'm fully grounded.
What type of like in the coaching business, what type of people do you work with?
I work with whoever shows up.
Like like any particular age group or people in certain situations or with career coaching or life coaching or relationships, family, or tell me about.
I said it like that, whoever shows up, because I'm like, I always set the intention, whoever's supposed to work with me will come to work with me. I've had some people show up. Well, it was a gift. Somebody had gifted the service, to work with me. And it just didn't work. She just wasn't interested. And I did the session and I thought, oh, I like it better when it's like whoever's supposed to show up just shows up. But I work with all ages. I can say, my grandson is 2 years old. And when he was born, I did some work with him. I mean, on him with his parents' permission. It's always with permission. And bringing him into his body, grounding him, like really grounding him, but more like physically. And I feel like there's no age range. There really is no age range. And truthfully, the hardest part of what I do is because it seems so like, do I really need that? What does it really matter? Like, this is what people say to me, and I'm kind of like, I don't sell my services. Like, I don't go out and like advertise it, but that doesn't mean it's not worthy, and it doesn't mean it's not so beneficial to the person. But I'm not going to be the person to go up to them and be like, hey, this could really help you. You could really use this. I'm not. I'm not out there soliciting, I guess is my point. But I welcome anybody who's interested. I feel like anybody who's called to look into it, to look into what it is that I do. I mean, come and check out the webpage and see. Even if you're not sure what you want or need, or if you need anything. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the free consult. And then if you decide there's nothing for you, there's nothing for you. But I always go with, if you're drawn to the webpage, or if you're drawn to look into it more, then maybe there's something for you.
Or are there particular like issues you help people with, whether it's like their career or family life?
Well, mostly it's heart healing, so emotional wounds. But I have worked with people mostly on self-worth and self-esteem. Oh my gosh, I something that I do is I work on releasing old beliefs and thoughts that are holding people back. And with that is connected to the ancestral work. So a lot of times we carry the beliefs so I come from a working class family, very blue collar. And so for years, even though I was a professional and I was working all these jobs, and I still had the mentality that I could never be successful because, the stories, I was attached to my ancestors and how like, oh yeah, nobody in our family ever does that. Oh, nobody in our family goes to college. Nobody in our family. And I had all these old beliefs that I was still working from. And so I actually go in and I work with the person on what beliefs they're holding. And then we do like a ceremony to release those things and call in the stuff that will empower them and actually strengthen them. Yeah.
Sounds like really amazing stuff. Like, especially like it's very practical work. Like you said, sometimes it's hard to explain, but at the same time, these are like important, like, I don't know if you want to call them skills or gifts or teachings or wisdom that like you share with people. That's very important. Like I said before, like I think everybody needs to have like these skills and wisdom to deal with life, especially in these tumultuous times.
Yeah. I like that you called it practical. And I feel like that's the hardest part maybe for me was it seems it's practical and it's very pragmatic, and people are like, do I need that? And I don't know, to feel the happiness that I feel and the joy I feel and the contentment. I mean, I would say it's worth it. I would say it's worth it. So yeah.
Great. Well, was there anything else you want to share with our audience? In terms of either your experiences, gifts, any advice?
Well, I would say, I guess I would say to people, even if you think that your life is fine, okay? So if you hear yourself describing your life as it's okay, it's good. If you say it like that, or you know, where, I'm working. When you hear, or if you hear yourself saying things like that actually is a sign of discontent. It's a sign of something not being exactly what it could be or has the potential to be. So we live our lives thinking, well, I got to go to work because that's what I was told. Like, you get up, you got to work hard. There's a belief. You got to work hard to earn that money, and you have to really work. You have to hustle. Another belief. Just things that you say today. Well, I guess another day, another dollar. It's like, it's not that those things are bad, but those seem to be like coping mechanisms for like a lack of happiness or joy. And do I think we all have to work? I don't know. I don't know. But how about working at something that you really enjoy and you really love? So I'll be completely honest here. I've been doing speech for 29 years. Do I love doing speech therapy? Probably not anymore. I mean, I'm really kind of like, I do it and I'm really good at it. And I had to find like a silver lining. I love my patients and I love interacting with them and I love the communication with them and helping them, especially sometimes towards end of life things, like giving them peace and solace before, they're moving on to the next plane. But I don't love speech anymore. And I realized like I'm just buying into this idea that I have to keep doing it. And so I just keep moving forward and I can still be joyful and happy and content and know that, yeah, I need to transition to the next phase of whatever it is that I'm doing. So if it's full-time healing work, then that's what it is. But even for myself, I'm a work in progress. I'm a work in progress.
Yeah. Well, Jeannine, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed listening to you and all the wisdom that you imparted with us today. If somebody was interested in if they had any questions about what you said today or they're interested in working with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, I have my website, resonatewithin.com. And then they also, there's an email address attached to that, which is resonatewithin@gmail.com. And you could feel free to reach out. I think there's a consult form on the webpage if you just want to connect and talk. No commitment.
Right. Well, I'm sure like a lot of people in the audience will get a lot from our conversation today. So thank you for everything.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope somebody does get something out of it.